Another round of exciting World Cup games are done and dusted, and now we have an interesting couple of things that can happen in terms of who makes it to the quarterfinals and who doesn't. We will, however, get into all of those permutations in the next video, where we will just look at all the weird and wonderful things that can happen in this last week of the pool games. It was, however, wonderful to see some of the smaller nations really putting up some displays that were wonderful to watch and enjoyable rugby all around. That all started with the Uruguay-Namibia game, where Namibia played a lot better rugby. They were up against competitors that they could compete against and play the type of rugby that they want to play. Even though they were leading early on and they put in a massive display throughout the game, they went down to the passionate and I think fairly impressive Uruguayans in a 10-point loss, which I think is a much more fair reflection of these teams and really what they bring to this tournament. I loved watching that game. The Japan versus Samoa game was a game of two contrasting styles. On the one hand, you had the very disciplined Japanese side, well-drilled, really well-oiled machine. And on the other side, you had the Samoan team, filled with amazing athletes, lots of potential in that team, but they're a little chaotic. And in the end, it just showed again that if you are a well-drilled team and you stick to the structures, you're actually able to pull off the victories. And it was a very, very tight 28-22 point victory in the end for Japan. And I think there must be credit that goes to both teams in this one. I actually thought the New Zealand-Italy game was going to be a lot more competitive, but it just looked like Italy gave up. They didn't really pitch up for the game. New Zealand showed what they're capable of if they get a little bit of confidence and they really put that slick handling on display. The Argentina-Chile game was also mostly a one-sided affair with the 59-5 win for Argentina, but Chile once again showed that yes, they are probably going to be a team to contend with in future. They will get to the World Cups and they will slowly but surely grow more and more effective. I think it was a great way for them to learn what the World Cup is all about, but Argentina really scored a moral boosting victory ahead of their very important clash in the last week to see if they can get through to the quarterfinals. The Fiji versus Georgia game offered a lot of excitement for a low-scoring game. Yes, the score was 17-12 in the end for Fiji, but Georgia was good value for money. They played a lot more constructive rugby than they did previously, and they showed some of the potential that they actually have in that squad. Fiji didn't play their strongest team, but they were able to give a lot of their players a chance to really get into this World Cup, get some playing time under their belts, and this really sets them up for what is to come in a potential quarterfinal spot. Scotland versus Romania was a one-sided affair. Scotland ran away with it, as you would have expected. Massive defeat for Romania, which I feel sorry for the Romanian side about, but it was what Scotland needed to set them up for a potential spot in the quarterfinals. So, job done in this round for Scotland. Australia versus Portugal was one of the weirdest games to watch. At times it was exceptionally exciting. Both teams playing brilliant rugby, and other times it just fell flat. There was nothing. There was literally nothing. So, this is a weird one because the 34-14 scoreline does flatter Australia a little bit, but you could see that it was two teams that were just playing with no real chance of getting to the next round. So they were just out there having a little bit of fun. South Africa versus Tonga was a brutal clash. You could see on the faces of a lot of the South Africans after the game with some blue eyes and some scars and some bruises and things that they were in a fight. And it was a good fight. I think that Tonga has really grown in stature during this tournament, and it just showed what can happen if a team like Tonga actually has regular competition against top teams. And I'm glad for them having had the opportunity to play South Africa, Ireland, and Scotland to really start gelling a little bit more as a team and take a step up in their overall play. South Africa were decent at times. They were worth the 49 points that they got, but they were also very sloppy at times, and that is something that they need to shore up and have a potential chance to defend their title. Andre Paula brought a lot of stability to that back line, looked good in attack, and his kicking was spot on. 100% kicking record for him, so well done. Then, if we get to the biggest losers in week 4, it would be difficult to pin that on anybody, but in this case, I'm going to just pin it on a single team, and that is Italy. Only reason I'm putting it on Italy is yes, they had an unlikely uh, victory that they were hoping for against New Zealand, but the way that they played uh, makes them the biggest losers this week. You can simply just have a look at how Uruguay approached the game against France. To really see it's not that cliched, the size of the dog, but it's the size of the fight in that dog. And Uruguay pushed France close, and they were within a point up till the last 10 minutes. It was just not the case for Italy. It just looked like they gave up. When we look at winners, there were many of those. They were the obvious ones where they won the games, where it was New Zealand, and Argentina, and Scotland, and South Africa came away with fairly large winning margins, and they got the business done. But the ones that I really want to focus on are the ones that helped the game to actually win in this past weekend. Well, regardless of whether they won or lost, a lot of credit needs to go to Uruguay, Namibia, Japan, Samoa, Fiji, Georgia, and Tonga. And I think a little bit of credit to Portugal as well at times. Those teams showed what they are able to do. At times they were magnificent, and you could see that there's enough potential there that if they actually got into regular competition, they got decent sponsorships, they could build squads that if that is what rugby is going to be in future, we're in for very interesting clashes at the next World Cup. Hopefully we can see a lot more of this rugby live over the next couple of years, where you see some of the smaller teams playing and where they can build up a support base for their respective teams. But massive credit to all of them. I think they advanced rugby quite a bit just because of what they did in this World Cup. So well done.